The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was the second Zelda game I ever played, first being A Link to the Past. That means a lot to me. This game means a lot to me. It's not my favorite of the Hero of Time games. I prefer Majora's Mask because I like how different it is and I like the concept and all that. But Ocarina of Time is also a game that's very close to my heart. So I was a little bit excited when a remake was confirmed for the game. I remember when I played the game at first on the collector's edition GameCube thing, and I talked about it a little bit in my Lego set review, but like, just look at this physical media thing. There's a manual here even. That's in my Nintendo Wii right now. You know, insert it into the slot. Made a really cool sound. And then I also played the remaster, of course, when that came out on the 3DS. Also, look at that cartridge and a manual. Anyways, point is, game means a lot to me. When I heard they made a remake, I was both excited and scared. When the rumor was going around, I was scared that they were going to go for the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom art style, which I like for those games, but I really wanted... I was more picturing of how I'd want a Majora's Mask remake to look, and that was hyper-realistic. So when I saw what they were going for Ocarina of Time, I was very satisfied when we saw Link in his bed. So I hope they keep that up. But anyways, I was trying to think of a way, like what kind of video do I want to make talking about the Ocarina of Time remake before we learn more about what it actually is. So I figured, why not do a list of do's and don'ts that I want for this remake for like the perfect experience for me. Everyone has their wish lists. Here's mine. One honorable mention I will say though is I do want cut content. Like if you could fit the light dungeon in there, which was a cool concept, that would be kind of cool. Even the wind dungeon maybe. But yeah, if you can't do that, that's fine. They're probably like really well into development anyways, so like anything I say in this, if they do or don't do that, it's too late anyways, because it's coming out this year unless they delay it. Hopefully they won't, but you know, anything can happen. Anyways, let's get this list started. So first, don't change the creation lore. Now they kind of have done this a little bit with Echoes of Wisdom, adding this being known as Null, which was like chaos or something. I could be wrong on this a little bit because Echoes of Wisdom stuff, I kind of forgot a little bit. So correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe as Din, Furor, and Nehru were doing their thing, Null was like this being of chaos that was trapped inside the earth or sealed inside the earth to not escape or something. Anyways, so the creation lore according to Ocarina of Time and has been kind of consistent, except for the goddess Hylia. I don't fully understand what her role is in the creation, if even she had any involvement. But, according to Ocarina of Time, there were three goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Furor. Now, in the midst of chaos, they came into being, and Din created the earth. Nehru kind of created order, and then Furor created life to live in the order. After their work was done, they ascended into the heavens and created the Triforce, where anyone who touches it gets a wish granted upon them. I just don't want them to change it. That's kind of not too much of an ask, I feel. I don't even think like when Zelda's the Deku Tree is telling Link about all of this, I really don't think that they even need to mention Null, because I feel like he plays such a small part. But I could be wrong. Like I said, I didn't really care. At the end of Echoes of Wisdom, if I'm being honest, Null's kind of a disappointing final boss. I wanted it to be Ganon really bad, but it just wasn't. So I didn't really care about Null's existence. So, yeah. Alright, so first do is, I want subtle references to characters such as Hylia and Null. I just think it'd be cool because of the fact that Ocarina of Time like was made before Hylia and Null were even like mentioned at all. I think it'd be cool if there were like an NPC who like would preach about Hylia. Maybe there's some sketchy guy in the corner trying to talk you into joining a cult about Null or something. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Hylia doesn't have to play a big part in the story, but I feel like she's still a big enough figure in the Zelda series now that she could at least be mentioned. I feel like that'd be fine. Maybe there's just a statue of her just somewhere in the corner. It's a little detail that I think wouldn't hurt to have in the game. Now, this is one I know, Nintendo, this is tempting. This is tempting. With the hype that Tears of the Kingdom had and Age of Imprisonment, and I'm sure he has his fans. Don't change Rauru. Do not make Rauru the Zonai Rauru. Keep Rauru this Rauru. You know, the guy that is allegedly Kaepora Gaebora. Like, give us him. Do not change him to Zonai Rauru. He is great and all that, but I mean, like, he's not. No, just don't do that, okay? I feel like I don't need to explain it. It wouldn't even make sense, really, I feel. The only way it would make sense is if Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom happen before Ocarina of Time, which they've said clearly that those games take place way in the future of everything else. So it wouldn't even make sense. So just don't go there. Don't do that. Next do is make the towns a little bigger. I'm talking Kakariko Village, Goron City, Zora's Domain, even Kakiri Forest. No, Kakiri Forest kind of can stay small. The main one's Castletown. At least make Castletown bigger, and I know you can do this because you did it in Twilight Princess. In Twilight Princess, Castletown's massive. In Ocarina of Time, you get like one district of Castletown, like 2 alleys. I mean, come on. I feel like Kakariko Village feels bigger than Castletown, in my opinion. I've replayed Ocarina of Time recently, and I was like, yeah, this place is kind of small, honestly. So I really think that Castletown needs a little bit of a bump in size, but that's just me. This kind of goes hand in hand with my first don't, which is don't change the creation lore. This one is don't make major changes to the story. Like, keep the story beats the same, you know? Link's sleeping, Deku Tree summons him, and Navi joins him. You go to the Deku Tree, you cure the curse, he dies, you go to Zelda, and then you get the other 2 spiritual stones. You go to the temple, you go back to temple, Zelda and Impa are making their runaway. You encounter Ganondorf. Ganondorf runs after them after blasting you in the face. You go to Temple of Time, you get sealed away for 7 years, and then, you know, next thing on top of the other. Don't change it more than needed, really. Like, keep the major aspects. You can change little things, of course, like little tiny tidbits that aren't super major. But when it comes to, like, the major plot points, keep them the same. We're still playing Ocarina of Time. This is not a new title. This is a remake of a title. And I feel like if you change the story too much, it loses the Ocarina of Time identity. This next thing was a real... It bothers me to this day, honestly, even going back to Ocarina of Time and as an adult, after beating the Water Temple. Please, just do unfreeze Zora's Domain post-Water Temple, because it felt like such I didn't do shit. Like, I didn't fix anything. Like, after you beat the Forest Temple, all of the enemies in Kakiri Forest are gone. After you beat the Fire Temple, all the Gorons are back in Goron City while they were pretty much all gone. And after the Shadow Temple, it stops raining in Kakariko Village. Nothing really changes in the desert, but really nothing needed to. When you beat the Water Temple, which some people would say is the hardest temple, I wouldn't say so. It's the most annoying because you have to keep pausing. I feel like the 3DS version kind of fixed that. It's just like, once you beat that temple, you expect, oh, all the Zoras are gonna be fine now. Then you go back to Zora's Domain and you see that, oh, it's still frozen, huh? I just think that it felt very it felt bad. It felt bad, like, why didn't that fix anything? Yeah, the lake dried up and now it's full again, but I mean, I kind of cared more about Zora's Domain. I don't know, it just feels like I didn't accomplish anything after beating that dungeon, and it's a shame. So please, just do that. Unfreeze Zora's Domain. Can't be that hard. Don't have full open world until after the Forest Temple. So here's what I mean by that. I feel like if they want to not do this one for one and they want to maybe make it somewhat open world, I feel like they should do it like this, okay? You first do the Deku Tree, then after that you go to Zelda, and then after that you can go to either Dodongo's Cavern or you can go to Zora's Domain and then get whichever either spiritual stone first that you want. Then you go to the Temple of Time, but then I think you need to do the Forest Dungeon first. The Forest Temple first, sorry. Because with how Link's kind of journey goes, I feel like it's important because he's still like a 10-year-old, right? He's a 10-year-old in an adult body, essentially. He has the mentality of a 10-year-old. So he's going to want to go back home first to just make sure his home's okay. The place he grew up in. He's like, oh no, what happened to the forest? You know, I feel like that's like an important thing. And it's also a great entry temple to, you know, the adult stuff. So I feel like maybe they can block off the boulders to Death Mountain. Maybe there's like an eruption. They're like chipping away at it or something. If you try to go there, the storm doesn't activate yet. So in Kakariko Village, so there's no need to go to the Shadow Temple or anything yet. Zora's Domain, I don't know, similar thing. I don't know what they could do with that. But I still think it's just important that you go to the Forest Temple, and then maybe you go back to the Temple of Time, and then you learn the song that Sheik teaches you in the Temple of Time. And then you can go anywhere you want. You go to Kakariko Village. Oh no, the demon is coming out. You get that lens of truth, then fuck it. Your second dungeon can be the Spirit Temple. Like, I think that would be fine. I would be perfectly fine with that. If you want to go open world, starting there, you know? Because it kind of was like that. You could beat the Fire Temple before the Forest Temple, I learned. So that was an interesting thing to learn. And then the Shadow Temple and the Spirit Temple, you could beat either one whenever you want. People just tend to do the Shadow Temple first because, you know, you get the lens of truth in the well. That's kind of like the next thing that makes logical sense after you were also just taught the Nocturne of Shadows. So, like, it does kind of make sense to just kind of go do the Shadow Temple, then the Spirit Temple. So yeah, you can have it open world, but I just think it's important to Link's story arc that he goes to Forest Temple first. Next is important, do add more reasons to go back to being Child Link. I always find when I go back to Child Link in Ocarina of Time that there's literally nothing to do and it's a drag to get around. When you're Adult Link, you have Gerudo Valley, you just have all these places you can go to besides the market, obviously, because that's all messed up. But when you're Child Link, you have to run across Hyrule Field and you have to, I don't know, this, that, and the third. Why can't we ride Epona? Like, let us ride Epona as young Link once you learn Epona's song. It can unlock either right afterwards and that could indicate something. Yeah, hear this. When you're Child Link, you play Epona's song, and then Epona comes to you whenever you want. But then you try playing it when you're an Adult Link, and then you realize, oh, Epona's not coming. So that means something must be wrong at the ranch. And that could point people to go to the ranch and check it out and see what happened. I think that'd be a good idea. And then, yeah, just adding a little bit, like maybe an extra place that you can visit. Or like, maybe this is where they can throw in like an extra bonus dungeon or something. For like Child Link or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas out here. I just think having more reasons to go back to being young Link, I don't know. It's just something I want. Don't do Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom controls. I want it to feel like I'm playing Ocarina of Time, you know? Like you run to a ledge, oh, you jump. Don't press a button to jump and flurry rush and all that stuff. Don't enable us to like climb up walls, you know? Like that'd just break the game straight up. It wouldn't make it Ocarina of Time. It would make it something totally different. I know like you probably want the appeal of newer Zelda fans coming in, but still I feel like it should be experienced similarly in a vein control-wise to how it was. how 3D Zelda has been for years. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are amazing games, but Ocarina of Time is just not that type of Zelda game. It is a 3D Zelda, yes, but it's just not what Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are. I don't know. I just think that that might be tempting even, and I just don't think that's a good idea. So let's leave the climbing and the flurry rushes with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and if they want to do another game, either a sequel to Tears of the Kingdom or just a new Link with new Zelda and, different place or whatever, different layout, you do that in the new one, but just don't do it with Ocarina of Time, please. Do change the final boss battle a little to make it feel a lot more epic and personal. Because here's the thing. On my last playthrough, I realized that the Phantom Ganon boss battle was actually harder than the real Ganon boss battle. Mainly the tennis part. Like, let's walk through the Ganondorf final boss, okay? You go up Ganon's tower, and then you play tennis with him, shoot him with the light arrows, and wail on him. That's kind of what the Ganondorf fight is. Then you and Zelda escape, and then you fight Ganon. You lose the Master Sword for a little bit. Then you get it back, and then, yeah. And I think most of that's fine, except one, I feel like the first phase is way too easy. The Ganondorf battle is way too easy. And another thing is, canonically, well, we know this Ganondorf does have a sword. So, why don't they play tennis, but then after that, Ganondorf gets really pissed off, and then the scene changes to us doing a sword-to-sword combat with him. I think that would be really cool. And make it feel more up close and personal, and, you can even up the difficulty a little bit. Make it a little bit of a hard fight. Sword-to-sword combats with Ganondorf has been like my favorite type of Zelda final boss. I loved it in Twilight Princess. I loved it in Skyward Sword. I loved it in Wind Waker. It just feels so personal and, just so good. Such a badass finale. Playing tennis doesn't. I'm sorry. I just feel like if there are any changes you made to any of the bosses in this game at all, you've got to change the final boss. Like, you just gotta. Not like the final phase. I think that the last battle with Ganon losing the Master Sword and having to improvise is a really cool final phase and stuff. So I think that and escaping the castle should stay the same. But the Ganondorf fight has to change. It just does. Now, I want to say this next don't is something that they've already done with the 3DS version, and it kind of ruins a part of the point of how I see the messaging of Ocarina of Time. And that is, don't lighten up the dark stuff. Don't make things look nicer than they are. The main example being the Shadow Temple. In the Shadow Temple, in the original, there are torture devices and bloodstains on the floor. They cleaned that. The devices are still there in the 3DS version, but it's all cleaned up and just looks like a weird, like, why is this here? That's kind of weird. I think they've changed some things with Dead Hand 2 to make him less scary, or the arena at least. But I feel like the dark parts of Ocarina of Time need to stay there to keep the impact of what I think Ocarina of Time is about, and that is growing up and even a loss of innocence. Because at the point when you get to the Shadow Temple, that's where you learn that, Hyrule, so far, what you've learned about it is a place that's good. It is great. It is perfect. It needs to be saved. But it's not until you get to the Shadow Temple that you realize, you know what, maybe there's some darker things underneath, and maybe this place isn't perfect, isn't so great. Maybe it has some things that's not fantastic about it. Maybe it has some gross secrets, and this is where you kind of find them out. And I think it's important that that stays for the messaging of the game and Link's journey. So I just think that the 3DS versions, now I'm talking versions, when I say that, I mean like both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, they lightened things up a bit too much and made things a little bit less creepy, I guess. Like, keep Dead Hand a nightmare. Make him worse. Make the Shadow Temple scarier and the well as well. Don't just traumatize kids, re-traumatize adults. So this next one, I feel like is more... It would just be cool. It's not necessary, but it would be a missed opportunity. Especially if they really want to stick with this downfall timeline thing where the hero is defeated. I think if you die in the... or lose in the Ganondorf or Ganon final battle, there should be some alternate cutscene that plays that shows the downfall timeline happening. So, like, say you lose all your hearts, you don't have any fairies left, then you get the game over screen. Then before you see game over, you see Ganondorf do dialogue about how now he has all the Triforce pieces and can take over the world. And then it says game over or something like that. Just something small like that will do. If you're fighting him as in the final phase when he's Ganon, you could show them doing the, I believe it was like a last resort sort of seal with the sages in Zelda, where the seal's like loose or something. I don't know. Where they forcibly have to seal away Ganon without the help of the Master Sword. I could be getting this wrong. I should have re-reviewed the Hyrule Historia because this ending is just weird. But yeah, I do think that'd be cool. Also, have like an RNG thing where it shows maybe what Hyrule is like afterwards in the adult timeline after the credits, you know? Because it already shows, we already see what happens in the child timeline. Link returns the Master Sword, then he goes and warns Zelda about everything that happens. But what about the adult timeline? We don't know. We haven't seen exactly what happens. We're just told in Wind Waker what happened. Now, there's just two last things, and they're really quick and short. Don't fuck it up, and do the game justice. Simple as that. I love this game so much, and the last remake I really was like, please don't mess this up, was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and I do feel like in a way they did by just fucking up the battle frontier. Just getting rid of it and having this stupid other alternative thing. And I just don't want Ocarina of Time to fall into that. And you know, the beauty of the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, the Hero of Time games, is that they both kind of have a message to them in a way. Like I said, I believe Ocarina of Time is about growing up and a loss of innocence. If not a loss of innocence, at least just growing up, you know? And that resonated with a lot of kids. And then Majora's Mask, I feel, is about death and grief, and that obviously resonated with a lot of kids, and it still resonates with me as an adult. I'm replaying Majora's Mask right now, and honestly, last year was hard for me. I lost 2 people, and it's been very therapeutic replaying Majora's Mask. So, yeah, these games mean a lot to me, and I would hate to see them be butchered when this is something I've wanted for a very long time. So, Nintendo, I hope with whatever you have done with it, I hope whatever you plan to do with it, please just don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Please. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to be it for me today. One real quick thing before I go. I want to address quickly the new setup. I do have a new setup going up on... I'm trying to think of how I'm going to do record reviews because I want to do one of those soon. It's not going to be my next video, but a future video because I need to get back on those. So let me know in the comments down below. What do you want to see in the Ocarina of Time remake? What don't you want to see? Do you agree with anything that I said in this video? Do you disagree with anything that I said in this video? If I got anything wrong, let me know in the comments down below. Like about Noel and about the downfall timeline. Because I might have explained it bad. But let me know in the comments down below what you want to see and all that stuff. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell when you do. And yeah, so long and good night.